Hello and welcome to Ask MotorInc, the 2026 edition. And it's time for me to answer questions that you have posted in the MotorInc app in circles using the hashtag AskMotorInc. The first question is from our regular yummy man or garlic bread man. He's asked a question about EVs and the range and the energy consumption. He's basically, I think, referring to some details that we've shared about range and efficiency that we've seen with EVs that we've tested. And we've seen that vehicles in city traffic conditions aren't offering as much range as they would when they're cruising out on the highway. He's wondering how could that be, especially considering at city speeds there should be energy regeneration while braking and slowing down, so that should be topping off batteries, which the systems can't do when you're cruising out on the highway. Fair point. It doesn't make sense, and it won't. Because what we're talking about here in this instance isn't general traffic conditions in mixed scenarios. We've started splitting it up into three parts: heavy traffic conditions, where it is pretty much stop and go, and then the more flowing city traffic conditions, which is why we refer to that speed range as the 40 to 80 range, and the last bit, which is the highway speed range, which will be 80 and 100, those kind of speeds. So there we'll be talking about cruising at 100 kilometers an hour on highways. So this city traffic scenario, even we were surprised to learn that it can be less efficient than what you'd have expected and what you can get even on the highway. And the answer really is quite simple. Because in those slow stop go traffic conditions, what's happening is you aren't traveling as much as sitting still in instances, and the energy consumption continues over there in terms of your air conditioning system, your peripheral systems in the car, which may not be much. And even then, in that stop go traffic, that little bit of acceleration, slowing down, little bit of acceleration, slowing down is not very efficient work that's happening. And so, in that kind of traffic scenario, you do find that range does come down lower than you would have expected for EVs in this case. But it all makes sense. When you look at the other scenario where you get to 40 to 80, you find that efficiency increased dramatically. And which is why we've been saying that if you have an EV and if you are worried about range, all you need to do is when you're traveling, think about a long distance trip that you are planning. If you just choose to cap your speed at 80 kilometers an hour, the range that you can get from your EV will be a lot more than if you were going at 100 kilometers an hour. Now, this is how EVs are today. That is how their efficiency works. And if you can work your life that way to suit them, then you will have a solution that works. If it doesn't, it won't. But it's not so surprising that in those heavy stop go traffic conditions that the efficiency is not as good as we would have imagined. The next question is from Chetan, and he's from the NCR region, and there's a comment on his post which sums it up well. It's a sad state of affairs, but the air quality in the national capital region has been quite poor. And he's saying that the air quality index goes up to 600, 700. And I was there for a few days in between, and it was frankly not good. The air quality, the experience as a human just moving around, I was masked up practically all the time there. And what he's asking about is his 2017 Creta, which does not come with an air purification system. And he's wondering, could he fit a HEPA filter on his car to help improve the air quality in the cabin when he's out in his car? Yes, you can. Your car doesn't come with an air purification system, but the cabin, the air conditioning system, has a cabin air filter. Now, this is a filter that you replace on a regular basis when your car goes in for service. This is a part that is changed periodically. Now, there are aftermarket filters which claim to do this job of the air purification, which will mean PM 2.5, PM 10 particles will be removed from the air that's being directed into the cabin. Now, the efficiency and the effectiveness of these air filters, we are not sure of, but this is not rocket science anymore. These are things that you should be able to just snap into place and use them and get the benefits of. If any one of you has tried one of these aftermarket filters, let us know in the comments on the MotorInc app what you've thought of them, how well they've worked, and if you've done any tests with air quality indicators to see whether it has helped, and if so, by how much. It would be super helpful to me and to Chetan as well. Our next question is from Swaps13, I think Swapnil, and he's asked a classic, which is basically, if you had to change just two tires on your car, where should they go? at the front or at the rear? Now, there was a time when I had overcomplicated this because I thought that what if it's a rear wheel drive car? Those tires should go to the rear because those rear tires have to put in a lot of work. They're driving the car, they're getting the torque from the engine, so they have to deal with a lot more stress and all that kind of stuff. But by someone far more experienced, Hari Singh, a former national rally champion, he put it quite simply to me. Irrespective of what the car is, the best tires have to go to the front. And the logic was simple. It's about risk mitigation, right? If you lose the rear tires, and those are the rear tires, let's say, and those are the ones that are driving the vehicle, what happens? You lose drive. But if you lose the front tires for whatever reason, what happens? You lose control. You can't steer the vehicle. Imagine that happening in the middle of a corner, or when you're braking, or when you're traveling at high speed. It does complicate things. In either of the two scenarios, it's not an ideal scenario, losing tires at the front or at the rear, but it gets far more difficult when it's at the front. And now imagine if it were the front tires along with front wheel drive. That certainly complicates matters further. So if you're getting new tires, or if you have to choose between the four tires that you have and you have to kind of pick the best and put them in the best place possible for the best outcomes, that would be the front wheels. The next question is from Vishu Mahana, and it's an awesome question. He's asked, what kind of first aid equipment would you carry in a car on your road trips? I carry nothing. Nothing, literally, which is not ideal, but the thought process, let me share that with you. My thought process in the first place is that I do not want to be in a situation where I end up needing first aid. So, what is the preparation that's needed for that? The car prep aside, making sure the tires are okay, windscreen, washer, fiber, fluid, all that jazz, forget that. For you as a human being in the car, what do you need to take care of? There are a few things that I am pretty clear that I will do every time I head out in a car, especially on a long drive. First and foremost, hydration. You have to have water in the car. This is such a small thing, but such an important thing. 9 out of 10 times, when you start feeling low on energy, or you start feeling sleepy, or you start feeling distracted, having water will help fix things massively. Roll down the windows along with that, get some fresh air in there, and you will see how much more attentive you become. And this is the key. Let's not try and fix the problem once you're in a hole. Let's try avoid getting into the hole in the first place. So, right, hydration is important. Having energy levels kept up is important. If you're on a long drive and you can't be making too many stops, you carry sugary stuff with you, which means chocolates, snack bars, whatever, stuff like that. So you can have a quick bite on the go, get your energy level up, cover the distance that you'd planned to and needed to, and then take the break at the time that you had planned to. You eat right, which means don't eat too much so that you feel zoned after that. Have small meals, have a little bit of a snack, take a small break, and then get back on the road with hydration involved, and then stay focused on the road. So that way, you aren't getting distracted every now and then about wanting to take stops because you're tired. You're maintaining your energy, you're maintaining your focus. Now, aside from this, you could have energy drinks and things like that, but we've tried those, and honestly, those only make matters worse because once that energy crash comes in, you will feel way more tired than you were in the first place. So that's something I avoid nowadays because I found myself feeling a lot sleepier and a lot more fatigued after having them once that peak had gone. Okay, in terms of first aid aspects, things that should be in a car, and these are the small things. And I think these are the things that I would want. And this is again from the standpoint of avoiding complications. So there are people who have car sickness, so you'd want medicines for that. There are people who could get body ache. They could just have general fatigue. As a driver, if I start feeling a little unwell, it could be body ache, a Disprin, a Crocin, things like that, which can just help me be effective and efficient on the road and help me get to my destination or help me get to a place where I can then stop safely and take a break if needed. These are the kind of things that I would carry, and these are the things that we do carry when we hit the road, especially with the family. Now, in case something does happen, the obvious things are the things that you'll find in your car's mandatory first aid kit, like gauze bandages, antiseptic ointments, Dettol. I think these are the things, these are the basics that you'd want to carry in your car, just in case of any light scrapes or cuts, that kind of stuff. Anything else, God forbid, if it were to happen, you need proper medical care, and that'll be something that you'll have to find on the road at the nearest town, village, city that is around you. So yeah, first aid, first and foremost, I would say, is what will help you stay out of trouble in the first place. Our next question is from Jeham, and he's a regular on Circles talking about his car from the United States of America, which happens to be a top spec Kitsashi, and he loves his Kitsashi. And this question is talking about the time when he eventually will come back to India and then will not have that Kitsashi in his life. So he's talking about finding a Kitsashi in India, doing it up, and having it in his life even when he comes back home. And he was wondering how should he go about it. Jem, I gotta tell you, man, I love the emotion behind it, and I completely get it. But let me tell you my story. As a W124 owner, a car that I craved since before I even had a driving license, a car that I looked up to massively, and I own one today, and it's certainly such a joy to have in your life, but there's a lot of pain involved as well. Buying one of these old cars and keeping them going is not as simple. Even a car like a Kitsashi in India is not going to be as easy. It's going to require your time. It's going to require a lot of effort because you will have to find a car that's first in relatively good shape. Then you'll have to find somebody who will help you keep it in good shape or get it in better shape so that you can use it regularly and continues to be a source of joy for you. You will have to find somebody who will then find the necessary parts required for it as and when they are needed to make sure that it continues to run smoothly and easily. And then, from aside from all of this, will of course be the regulatory aspects, which will be getting it re registered, the green tax, and all of that. So, as much as I love the idea of you getting your dream car back here in India when you're back, and I see the passion in all your posts, how much you enjoy being with your Kitsashi in the States. But but when you get back here, think a little bit without the rose tinted glasses before you take that decision, because I wouldn't want you to go through that heartache of getting your car but then not having the pleasure from it. The 124 that I got, I was very lucky to get. I was super happy. I've driven it, I've used it, but not anymore as time has taken it out of my hands, so to speak, because I don't have the time to care for it. And it is a friend of mine, Mukul from Autolog, who's been looking after it for me, and that pain has become his. I feel so guilty about it, and he does it so lovingly. It's all the more awesome because of that. But this is something I was very fortunate to find amongst friends. This is something that you'll have to look for, find, and then take the decision. Otherwise, it's going to be a lot of chasing and running and heartache. Our last question for today is from Ajay underscore. And he's saying he has a Punto MJD. And now when he's driving around, typically at low speeds, mid speeds, when he's going over bumps, speed breakers, the car tends to bottom out and crash. And he's wondering if the suspension could be short, considering he bought the car used, where it had done 52,000 kilometers. And now the car has 110,000 kilometers on the clock. Bro, trust me, those things are gone. You need to replace them 100%. The springs, the struts, they are begging for for release. They want to go. The amazing part is that you've only now found that to be an issue, and up till now it's been working fine. That's amazing. This is what that Fiat fan base was all about: the toughness of the car, the dependability of it in certain ways, and you've lived through that. So this is awesome that with you it's lasted for an additional 50,000 kilometers, and now you've come to the point where you're thinking, hey, something's wrong. And yeah, the chances are your shocks are gone and it's time to get them changed. And that should solve your problem fairly quickly. But now, in this case as well, find somebody who knows his puntos well and can get those parts for you so that this swap can be done easily and quickly. I'm not sure if the parts for it are easily available. If they are, awesome, it'll be an easy fix. If not, find somebody who knows his puntos and will help you out with that. Well, that's it for this episode of Ask MotorInc. If you have any questions, come to the MotorInc app, and we love that you are. We've seen lots of first-time car buyers come in and ask questions, and the community's been pitching in, helping you out make those decisions. I love seeing that, and we'd love to see more of you on the MotorInc app. And as always, the MotorInc app is free to download, free to sign up on, and I'd love to see you there. Bye for now.